Lesson 11. Managing in Tough Times.
Memory text. Offer to God thanksgiving, and pay your vows to the Most High. Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50. 14-15.
Many say the world is getting worse on a more rapid pace lately. They see crime, wars, disasters, and much more. Economic disaster might be right around the corner.
Too many Christians are being tempted to secure their future by their own efforts. Remember that the Bible tells us to trust in the Lord at all times. Some say now is a good time to lean on Jesus more than ever. The truth is, there is never a time that we need Jesus more. We need Jesus the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Did you really need Jesus less in good times? That thinking actually causes people to rely on themselves, and not God. Can you imagine telling Jesus one morning that you have matters under control, so he won't be needed? Do not be one of those who relies on Jesus only during tough times. The more you submit yourself to Jesus in good times, the more you can submit yourself to him in bad times.
Putting God first. 2 Chronicles 20:20. So they rose early in the morning and went out into the wilderness of Tekoa, and as they went out, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Judah and you inhabitants of Jerusalem, believe in the Lord your God, and you shall be established, believe his prophets, and you shall prosper. In the book of 2 Chronicles 20:1-22, we have Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, facing war and disaster from Moab, and the Ammonites. He gathered all the people of Judah together, men, women, children, and they all bowed and worshipped God. This must have been true worship from the heart. God saw and heard their cries for help. The army of Judah was led by singers with praises to God. Moab and Ammon were miraculously defeated by others before even encountering the people of Judah.
Jehoshaphat was faced with a tough time and gave us some clear lessons. He never relied on himself and declared that only God could save them. Jehoshaphat put the situation completely in God's hands. We are the children of God and should seek his favor as Jehoshaphat did. Proclaim with a surety that God controls everything, including our tough situations. Jehoshaphat remembered the glory of God and his true promises. He never thought that anything he did would deliver the people. Their deliverance was dependent on God, and God alone.
Trust God, not your own resources. 1 Chronicles 21:1. Now Satan stood up against Israel, and moved David to number Israel. King David was given an idea that he should count everyone. Why is even the thought of this a sin? 1 Chronicles 21:3. And Joab answered, May the Lord make his people 100 times more than they are. But, my lord the king, are they not all my lord's servants? Why then does my lord require this thing? Why should he be a cause of guilt in Israel?
Joab does the right thing and counsels King David that the people, including the soldiers, belong to God and God alone. The deceiver deceived David into counting the Israelite army. David's pride got the better of him and he went along. He could then boast of what a powerful army he has. The nation of Israel belonged to God, not David. David had no right to count it as his. In this regard, a boastful King David put all caution aside and went ahead with the census. David was at the point of trusting in his own might, not God. Before we judge David too harshly, we need to look at our own attitudes. We might be tempted to add up our bank accounts, income, stocks, bonds, possessions, and more. Then sit back and take pride in our accomplishments. As head of a household, we might even consider those in our care as belonging to us in a prideful way. We are then in danger of putting our trust in ourselves, and not God. Remember that everything we have belongs to God, and we should humbly accept and use those blessings for honorable, and Christ-like purposes. Jesus gave up everything for us. He left the glory of heaven to die on the cross for us. Can we give up ownership of earthly possessions and follow Him?
Time to simplify. A lot of people are downsizing their homes and possessions. Do we really need to store and enjoy treasures on earth? There is nothing wrong with this idea. But there is an extreme, and many people regret some choices they have made. If you are downsizing in any way, be sure and think ahead. There are many things that can go wrong if we give up things without a thought process. Your financial picture must be in good shape. It is commendable to want to live cheaper and smaller. Problems arise when we are doing this because we think Jesus is coming tomorrow, and we had better flee to the wilderness.
When we read of what Adventist pioneers said and did 150 years ago, remember where their mindset was. They thought all was done and the return of Jesus was imminent. As long as we are able, we need to live in the world. That includes providing for our families and spreading the gospel. Getting ready for the return of Jesus is not about possessions, wealth, downsizing, going off the grid, or storing food. It is about your spiritual life. Our last day could be any day, as we live in a broken world. Keep focused on a Christ-like life. Even while on the cross, Jesus interacted with the thief who repented, and He provided for his mother. Never fall into the trap of doing things because you are convinced Jesus will come in a set time. Checking out of society and just waiting for Jesus is not biblical. We have lives to live, people to take care of, and the gospel to be preached.
Priorities. Mark 12:30. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. Jesus tells us the only way to live is to put Him first in all things you do. If Jesus is not first in your life, then all other things are futile. Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon.
Mammon can be defined as the evil influence of wealth. Jesus strongly cautioned as to how the rich think. Wealth has a tendency to corrupt. It is not hard to serve two masters, it is impossible. Whom will you serve? 1 John 2:15. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. The world today wanders after wealth and fame. Many believe the world is more evil than it has ever been. Lust, gratification, ego, are not from above. All things vile and unholy will pass away, but followers of Jesus will live forever. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Colossians 3:2. With so much tempting us, it might not be easy to resist. Allow the Holy Spirit to keep you close to Jesus and not be pulled away. 2 Peter 3:12. Looking for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat.
When no one can buy or sell. A day will come when true Christians must sever all ties to the world. We are so dependent on our money and possessions now, it is hard to think how we can give them up. Some are storing gold and saving lots of food. People think they can get through this time on their own efforts. Your neighbors will eventually know you hoarded food. You think you can keep them away? What will your gold do for you? In the last days, food and basic needs will be scarce. You cannot eat gold. Gold will be worthless as nobody will have a need for it.
You buy land out in the country thinking you will be safe. Since the government has records of property, how will you pay the taxes? People think they will be tracked on a cell phone. You will have to give up all luxuries like that because you will not be able to buy one or pay the bill. Some think the Seventh-day Adventist Church will keep them safe. Unfortunately, the church as an organization will cease to exist. The church operates like a business. We have money in banks. We pay electricity, water, gas. Do you think our hospitals, universities, academies, conference offices, camps, and other endeavors will stand without buying and selling? Even today our hospitals and universities are funded for the most part by government payments such as Medicare, student loans, and grants. Again, we as a church will not be buying electricity, medical supplies, etc. Sit back and think about all the things that are dependent on money, electricity, gas, and water. Then think of being without them. It is a scary thought. To some people, tithing is also scary. Giving is scary. Being able to live on less is a good lesson for us now. God gave us principles of sacrificial giving on purpose. We must learn to trust Him now, so we can be well prepared for the true last days.